what up? How you guys doing out there today? This is your boy Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy. We're here to present you our MLB On Deck segment for Friday, May 3rd. If you're new to this channel, please make sure and click the subscribe button below so you can watch all of our MLB, NBA, and NFL videos. If you haven't came and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel and DraftKings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure you come check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So, hey, what up, Jeremy? How you doing out there, bro?
Yo, what's up, man?
Hey, another day. Got to grind. Yesterday, Price was a guy that a lot of people were on, and it was for a good reason. I understood the play, but we talked about it on yesterday's video that the White Sox, they were a pretty good hitting team against lefties. They're getting another lefty in Chris Sale today. So how do you feel about Chris Sale real quick before we jump into today?
Yeah, I'm not a guy that likes to get into the whole narrative train. But in this spot, I happen to like the narrative of him being in Chicago and having struggled a lot this season. Obviously this is where he started his career was with the White Sox. And you look at his last couple starts and his velocity looks a lot more like Chris Sale. So Chris Sale's biggest problem has been was first velocity and location. He looks to have solved mechanically the velocity issue, and he's struggled a bit with location. And in his last start, his location had got a little bit better. He still got tagged for a 2-run bomb, I believe. And I think he gave up 3 runs. But he's looking more and more like himself. I think that from a velocity standpoint, he looks like he's back to somewhat normal. And then if he can get location down and not be all over the place, he's just missed location. And when he's missing out over the plate, and balls middle in are getting smashed. So if he can start to locate, with 3 of his pitches, I think that he's going to be in a buy low opportunity. This could be where it bottoms out at 9,900. I know he's been cheaper, but the upside hasn't been back like it has right now in this matchup today, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I get you for sure. I'm ready to jump in.
I will tell you this, though. This is a day that if you don't get pitching right, you could have a lot of lineups that don't cash. You've got to get pitching right today, because there's really 4 guys kind of up in high society, and then you've got kind of 4 middle class guys, and then there's not really too much value out there. So you've got to get pitching right today.
Right. No, I agree with you. So I'm going to jump in. I'm going to talk about some bats that I'm going to be targeting today. And then we'll finish it off. You can jump back in and kind of give us a couple pitchers that you're really, really liking. And we can just kind of go from there. As always, this is more just a kind of an overview, get you a general idea of what we're looking at today. If you're looking for a more in-depth analysis on today's slate, visit our site, dfscheatsheet.com. We got a MLB deep dive breaking down the whole slate in depth. We have a course plays video. We have a crush spot. We have a value plays article, and we have a stacks article. So a lot of different things that you can check out for MLB. Hey, so check it out, dfscheatsheet.com. And hey, man, I'm ready to jump into it. So I'll kind of combine them whenever. That's usually what I do when there's a spot that I really like. First, you got Coors Field on the slate. So we'll just quickly talk about Colorado and Arizona. I really like Colorado in this spot. They have the highest implied total on the slate of 5.6. They get a matchup today against Robbie Ray. He gives up a 230 WOBA against lefties, 326 WOBA against righties. I don't really like targeting lefties against Robbie Ray, but I really like targeting righties. And Robbie Ray, he definitely has a ton of strikeout upside. He's a good pitcher, but he's a guy that the control gets out of hand. He walks a lot of people, tends to get base runners on it, and he can give up. He can get hit hard and give up a bunch of runs because of his command. If he's on that day, yes, he can shut teams out. But like I said, he hasn't really necessarily been that pitcher so much this year in Colorado, where it's starting to heat up a little bit. The wind is blowing out 5 miles an hour to dead center today. There's some guys that have some really good numbers off Robbie Ray. As a team, they're batting 361. They're batting 361 with 11 home runs and 122 at bats. So I like this Colorado team a lot. The guys that are really standing out to me, you got to look at their core guys: Blackman, Arenado, Story, Desmond, and you can even throw in Daniel Murphy in there. We know this guy's a really, really good hitter. So I like Colorado. Definitely want to get some Colorado exposure on today's slate. On the other side of things, you got Arizona. They've been a surprising team. They've been swinging good bats. They've really been stepping it up, even though they lost a couple key components last year in Goldsmith and Pollock. They're still having a pretty good season. They get a matchup today, second highest total on the slate of 5.5 against Tyler Anderson. Tyler Anderson gives up a 313 WOBA to left-handers, 297 WOBA to right-handers. And the guys, you look at the guys that have been playing very, very well. You got, Adam Jones, Escobar at the top of the lineup. You got to really like them. And then I really like Peralta and Christian Yelich. That's probably going to be my four-man stack that I'm going to be looking at. Wilmer Flores, we got him projected batting in that 3-hole. I'm not really on Wilmer Flores too much. He hasn't really shown us too much this year. Four-man stack for me, like I said, it's going to be Jones, Escobar, Peralta, and Walker. I think are the guys that you target. And you could possibly throw in a Marte or Ahmed. They've been swinging some pretty good bats to start the year as well. Moving outside of Colorado, which is the obvious game to target, I'm moving to Philadelphia. I like the Phillies today. 5.3 implied total going against Jeremy Hellickson. Hellickson gives up a 333 WOBA to left-handers, 306 WOBA to right-handers. There's five guys that I'm really going to be looking at on Philadelphia. It's their core guys. You got to look at Harper, McCutchen, Real Muto, Hoskins, and you could even throw in Segura. I really like those guys.
Hey, bro.
Yeah.
I hate to cut you off, but it's gonna eat me up if I try to let it go and I can't. So you're not on. You say Wilmer Flores? Is that what you're saying? With Arizona and Coors Field?
Flores is definitely a play. He's a good price. I definitely will have some exposure in my stacks. I just don't think he's like a guy I'm gonna look to really like get in like my core, like you were telling me, you want to find 4 or 5 guys from each team. You don't want to necessarily stack the whole entire team. I just don't know if he'll necessarily make the top 6 for me. Do you think he's a good play?
All I heard was you say he hasn't really done anything this year, and I'm you'll have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure that in the start against CC Sabathia, he had an RBI double and a home run the last time he faced a lefty, and then that's what he's known for. Is a left-handed specialist. Like, he's a guy at his price tag that I feel like you get somewhat of a discount on in Coors Field, and a guy that is a specialist against smashing left-handed pitching. But no. I just wanted to bring that up because I wasn't sure what you meant by the guy you weren't looking at because he hasn't done anything. I just wanted to check.
Yeah, no, for sure. Flores, I actually, be honest, I played Flores a lot last year against lefties. That's his whole career. That's what he's done is he smashed lefties. 3,000, if he's going to be batting in that 3-hole, like I said, you definitely can look at him. I definitely think he is in play. I just didn't know if he was one of them like core guys that I really wanted to super target. But yeah, no, definitely like Flores against lefties. Philadelphia, like I said, I went over them. I like them going against Hellickson. It's Harper, McCutchen, Real Muto, Hoskins, Segura. That's the 5 Philly core plays I'm going to really be looking at. Moving on, the next team I'm going to target. We just talked about this, Tampa Bay. I was telling you about how surprising Tampa Bay has been, and you mentioned it. You talked about Tampa Bay, and you talked about what was it, Seattle? The very beginning of the season, you're saying that they're You called it, and I'm like, no way. These are guys who lost. Some key pieces. And they're not going to do nothing. That was my initial thought going into the season. And sure enough, Tampa Bay, it seems like every single day they're putting up 7 or 8 runs. They have this young core group of guys that has really, really been playing very well. They're in Baltimore today. Baltimore is something that we've been talking about. Every time Baltimore's been on the slate, we've been targeting them. Not only do they, they don't necessarily have the best starting pitching, but their ballpark has been giving up a ton of runs to start the season. It's been one of the best hitters ballparks for years now. what you were telling me last time. So yeah, man, you got to go right back to the well. You got to look at Tampa Bay, a team putting up a ton of runs in a really good hitter's park. They have a really high implied total of 5.2 projected runs today. Getting a matchup against Dan Straley, who's been giving up a 365 WOBA to left-handers, 332 WOBA to right-handers. For the Rays, man, I mean, you got some guys definitely in play. You look at their top six is kind of where I'm at with it. The guys that are standing out for me: Brandon Lowe, Tommy Pham, Cho has been his Chu. How do you say that? Chu,
J-Man Choi.
Choi. Yeah, Choi, and then I like Kiermaier too. Kiermaier's a guy that he has stolen base upside, he has power upside. So for me, with the Rays, you're looking at 1 through 6. I think they're all in play. They're going to put up some runs today in Baltimore, and I think the Rays are going to be a team that they continue to be a little bit lower on stat compared to some of the other teams on the slate, especially when you have Coors Field. A lot of ownership goes to Coors Field whenever it's on the slate, and I think that the Tampa Bay is definitely in a really good spot against Straley. Just to round it off, my final team I'm going to look at, man, we got some really good hitters ballparks today. We got Coors Field. We got Baltimore. We talked about Philly. Got the Yankees at home, and Milwaukee's at home. And then you got Texas. Texas, they have the 5th highest implied total on the slate. They're going against a pitcher making his debut today in Trent Thornton at home. In Texas, we talk about it. They gave up the most runs last year to any compared to any ballpark in Major League Baseball, including Coors Field. So you gotta like Texas. Question for you, real quick. You're more the kind of you go in depth on pitchers and stuff. Do you know anything about this guy Trent Thornton that Texas is going against today?
Yeah, I'll get into that in a minute. Go ahead and finish up your stack.
Okay,
I'll get it for you.
Yeah, no problem. So, I mean, looking at Texas, I mean, they got a bunch of lefties that they have upside. You're looking at Chu, Odor, Mazzara, Gallo. Those are probably the top 4 lefty stack that you kind of want to look at. And then you got to throw in Andrus, throw in Cabrera, even Forsythe. Forsythe's been swinging a pretty good bat this year. So, yeah, Texas is definitely in play. I like the 4 lefty stack. If they're all going to be 4 of the top 5, you could throw Andrus a little bit in there. And that's really where I'm at with Texas. I'm curious about the pitcher, though.
Yeah, man. So, first and foremost, one thing that you're going to want to do before you do anything today, and that's get into weather, because there are some concerns. Baltimore is one of them. It's a place that right now looks kind of dicey. There is definitely some weather concerns. And then I'm curious, before I get into Thornton, are you not interested in Cincinnati going against Tyler Beatty today at Great American Small Park?
Yeah, I have them, honestly. So I kind of make like a list of my top 8 teams. I do have them on there. I actually have them as my 7th team. I like them. I think, Cincinnati, really good hitters ballpark. Milwaukee's a really good hitters ballpark. They just weren't like, there were some other spots I liked a little bit more.
Yeah, Texas is also a dicey spot for weather today too. So there's a couple of spots that look like they're in really good spots as far as hitting environments, but we're going to have to wait and see on weather. Right. Namely, those 2 places, Texas and Baltimore, are spots that they look a little dicey right now. So, if you're talking about Texas, if you're talking about Baltimore, obviously you're talking about the East Coast, and you've got Philadelphia right there, you've got Pittsburgh right there, you've got New York right, all there in that general vicinity. So, all places where we need to kind of pay attention to what's going on with the weather today. So, this guy Thornton, Trent Thornton, he just pitched against the Angels. Did he pitch in the Angels? No, he pitched against did he close the series against the Giants? I can't recall. I don't have all my research right in front of me, but this guy's pitched okay this year, Trent Thornton, and he's gotten blown up a couple of times. Namely, his first start, I think, was his best start. Let me just pop him open really quick, and we can take a look into him a little bit deeper. But not a guy that Oakland. So he did finish up. His last start came against Oakland at Oakland. He did pitch against the Giants as well. You can see from his pitch counts, he's only gone over, he's gone into 100 once. He's gone over 90 twice. So, he's not been a guy that's gone extremely deep. And really he's got the one really good start. And I'm sorry, I stand corrected. That was against Cleveland. So this guy hasn't pitched great. We'll take a look at him in the deep dive if Texas looking like a place we're going to be able to target, because the weather's going to hold up. But Trent Thornton is nobody to be worried about. The guy that, if you're going to look down there as far as maybe a guy to target against, you mentioned Tyler Anderson. I completely agree with that. With Arizona, they've been a pesky team all year long. Arizona, you could throw in that mix of teams that's with Tampa Bay and Seattle. Surprisingly enough, though, Seattle's lost 7 of their last 10 games, and they've kind of hit a lull in their season. And a lot of it has to do with they need some starting pitching to go along with. They just don't have anything. And I just actually read this morning that they have been offering they've got a lot of really good prospects, and they've been offering up some prospects trying to negotiate some sort of a deal with San Francisco for Madison Bumgarner before the Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays get involved in that.
Does that make you sad as a Giants fan?
No, man. I like
or trying to move on.
I'm going to be honest with you, not just because I'm a Giants fan, but the Giants fans are probably the most loyal fans. They're probably the highest baseball IQ fans. They understand what time it is. You never see a guy who was a Giant and he leaves or he gets traded away or whatever, come back and not get appreciated by that fan base. It's probably the best fan base in all of baseball. And
a lot of people do always come back after leaving.
What do you mean?
Like for example, like Pablo Sandoval, he was with them, left. And
no, not what I mean. Not what I mean. I mean like leaving and then they come back to play there. You see a lot of players who leave a franchise, they go back to play against them and they get booed.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
It's an educated fan base.
Right. And cheer them on.
And everybody knows really what time it is. They know that look, he got 3 rings, man. He's also for being a young guy, he's got a lot of innings on that arm. And if the Giants are able to capitalize on getting some really good prospects in return for him, everybody knows what time it is. And the Giants, the direction they've taken, they probably have one more chance to make a run in the next 2 years with this group of players that they've got, and it will probably be without Madison Bumgarner. That's just the reality of the business of baseball. So, it doesn't make me sad.
He could come to the Dodgers, bro. We looking for a pitcher.
I can guarantee you that the one place he will never go is the Dodgers. He can't stand the Dodgers.
I know. I'm just messing, bro.
I'll tell you what, though. That would be one way for the Dodgers to get a ring because he could bring 3 of them.
Hey, there you go. So who are you looking at pitching wise today, bro?
So really, you got to break. You break pitching down today, and you look up at high society, and you've got 4 guys in Kershaw, Glasnow, Boyd, and Paxton. Glasnow and Boyd probably the 2 less sexy names, obviously, and then that middle class range. You got Chris Sale, Shane Bieber, Mike Minor, and Jack Flaherty. Obviously, Chris Sale, the big name in that group, and then the value tier. Really, you have Eichhoff, Gausman, and possibly Sonny Gray. Sonny Gray pitched fairly decent in the beginning of the year. He had a couple of bumps in the road and then had an okay start in his last outing. This is a perfect day to bring up a question and an answer that you and I talk about quite a bit, and that is, if you're going to pay down somewhere, what are you going to get in return for it? And you better make sure the return you get for that savings pays off, right? And understand the risk you're taking. The upside of a Clayton Kershaw is probably 60 to 70 fantasy points. Pitching in a ballpark like San Diego, if you're going to take the savings and go with a Gausman who did have 54 fantasy points the last time he faced Miami earlier this season, if you're going to take those savings, that's going to give you $3,000 on FanDuel. That gives you $3,000 to spend up at other positions, and you've got Coors Field on the slate. So, you better make sure that you understand what you're getting. In this case scenario, you're making a decision about Coors Field, and we talked about it before we came on with Coors Field.
Hey, I don't want to interrupt you. I just want to kind of having Coors Field and having the Kershaws on the slate, it always makes it tougher to decide what you want to do.
Right. So I'm going to tell you right now, like I'm going to drop a little nugget for the guys that are watching this. The Giants and the Reds are 2 teams that I'm really interested in today because of stacking with Coors Field. You're going to need value and especially value in order to get to pay up for Coors Field and a pitcher. And you look at the Giants going to get Sonny Gray. Starting to hit the ball a little bit. It's Great American Small Park. They definitely have guys who can hit a lot of home runs on the road, namely Brandon Belt, Buster Posey, Evan Longoria. Those Pablo Sandoval, if he's in the lineup, they can all hit the ball out of the ballpark. It's a small ballpark. You look at the flip side of that. There's some guys who have good numbers against left-handed pitching in that Cincinnati lineup, facing Tyler Beatty today. So there's some spots where you're going to need to look for some value to stack up with Coors Field, and that's a spot that I like. Allows you to pay up and stack Coors Field, maybe uniquely like with 3-3-2 stacks. So that's you have to kind of think outside of it and know what you're getting. So there's really 10, maybe 11 guys in consideration today, and then there's definitely some gas cans you want to target against Tyler Anderson, Dan Straley, Hellickson, Kikuchi, Trent Thornton. Brett Anderson could be in a bounce back spot against Pittsburgh. It's a pitching friendly environment in Pittsburgh. So Brett Anderson may be the one guy that I may look at to see if there's something we can do with him. But Kershaw and Colorado, like I don't like BVP, you know that. I don't like that. But Colorado would be a target today if they weren't in Coors Field, because they've been absolutely smashing the baseball since they got to Atlanta.
Yeah, they're starting to pick it up.
Right. And now so you've got that, plus they're going home to Colorado where the ball flies out of the yard. It doesn't really matter what they've done or who the pitcher they're facing is today.
Yeah, for sure. So Robbie Ray, 7,000 with the strikeout upside. No lines at all.
I just don't see the reason why you need to do that. Like, I don't understand why you need to do that. If you want strikeout upside, Atlanta has not put up the runs that they've been trying to put up. And if you want strikeout upside, you could look at a Jorge Lopez, you could look at a Jose Urena, you could look at a Brett Anderson in a pitcher friendly environment. Milwaukee struggled in the series against Colorado, and the last two games I believe it was, where Colorado put up a bunch of runs. Steven Matz, we'll have to see if Yelich is going to be in that lineup. Kyle Hendricks starting to put it together. And then, so there's some other spots. Kyle Gibson, there's other spots to pay down for without having to go to Robbie Ray at 7,000. I would probably much rather take a chance with Brett Anderson bouncing back, because he's pitched decent over the last year and a half. He's had a couple of rough starts. Pittsburgh's not a place that yields a ton of home runs. I would probably rather look there.
For sure. So, hey, man, that's what we got for you guys. It was a little bit longer video, but it's a little bit bigger slate. So we want to make sure and be very informative and kind of help you get started with your day. Like I said at the very beginning of the video, if you want a more in-depth analysis, we got a bunch of MLB articles up. We got some NBA up still, NHL up every single day. Plus, on the weekends, we have MMA, we have NASCAR, we have PGA. So check out the site. Get your 14-day free trial. Yes, we're giving you 14-day free trial. You got 2 weeks to check out the site. Make sure it's right for you. Hey, we want you guys to win some money, man. We don't need you guys to sign up to get a couple extra dollars. Hey, we want to help you win day in and day out, compete against the pros. So
that's okay.
Look on your guys' contest tonight, and peace out, guys.